Hi everyone, welcome to Turkish series stars. All the details are coming up right now, and before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Turkish series stars and share this video with a friend who loves a little behind-the-scenes drama. Thank you so much for being here. Today's whispers aren't about a new role, a ratings victory, or a glossy red carpet moment. They're about the storm that gathered around Barış Arduç at a private clinic and the fallout that pulled Elçin Sangu right into the eye of it. According to multiple sources close to the set and eyewitness chatter from the hospital corridors, the tension didn't begin last night, but last night is when it finally overflowed. Here's what people say happened. Barış had been struggling through a heavy schedule and a stubborn fever that pushed him into a private Istanbul hospital for observation. Word of his condition traveled quietly, first to colleagues, then to a certain on-set partner who, as the story goes, showed up with a bouquet and a gentle note, intending to wish him well and step out. It should have been a small, kind gesture. Instead, the moment doors opened on that white, sterile hallway, everything spun off script. Witnesses claim Elçin was in the room, protective and emotionally stretched, when the visitor approached the doorway. The bouquet barely crossed the threshold before the air sharpened. Those who were nearby insist that Elçin's voice held together at first, then tightened as she asked, with unmistakable resolve, why the visit was happening at all. The words that followed, strong, clear, and personal, left no doubt, their private life wasn't a set, and uninvited cameos were not welcome. What happened next moved quickly. Nurses nearby exchanged glances, a security guard took a subtle step forward, and staff members, trained to keep calm under pressure, gently guided the visitor back toward the elevator. The actress, Barış's current on-screen partner, whose name now hovers like a blurred caption in every retelling, kept her head down, letting the professionals lead her out. Reporters staked out at the entrance called questions into the night. She barely paused. "I only wanted to offer my good wishes," she said softly, "this is a misunderstanding," and slipped into a waiting car. Those 3 sentences exploded online minutes later. Was it innocent? Was it naive? Or was it a step too far, arriving in the middle of an illness when nerves were frayed and sleep was scarce? From what we've pieced together, jealous speculation had been simmering for weeks. Fans had obsessed over the electricity in recent scenes. Certain watchers, always the first to freeze frame and read lips, claimed the sparks were too bright to be entirely scripted. Others dismissed it all as the product of good actors doing a tough job. Still, those rumors hang in the air like stage fog, coloring every frame of last night. People close to the couple described the hospital days as a grueling stretch. Barış, already worn thin by a relentless shoot, was physically drained and mentally scattered, bouncing between responsibility and recovery. Elçin, seeing the toll it took on him, shifted into protective mode. Those in their circle say she was attentive to everything, who called, who texted, who asked about visits, who tried to send gifts inside. Not out of malice, they insist, but out of deep concern. In that fragile bubble, even a well-meaning gesture can look like a breach. The quiet narrative from set insiders fills in the lines. They say the on-screen chemistry had become its own character in recent weeks, stoking speculation that spilled over into gossip groups and fan pages. Some whispers even claim that Elçin visited the production office days earlier, voicing that certain scenes were pushing comfort lines and requesting sensitivity while Barış was battling fatigue. Whether those talks were formal or just a heartfelt conversation down a hallway, no one will say on record. But people who work on the show nod when asked if the mood had turned tense. Meanwhile, our sources insist Barış has chosen silence as his shield. He said nothing to cameras, nothing to microphones, nothing even to the winking emojis that popped up under his last post. Off camera, it's a different story. He's tried to soothe the situation, to steady the balance between the person he shares a life with and the colleague he shares scenes with. A message was reportedly sent late last night, just a simple line of empathy to the actress who was escorted out, an apology for the awkward spiral and a hope she wouldn't take the intake of cold air in the corridor personally. The message, for now, remains unanswered. There's more. After the visitor left, voices rose behind closed doors. People near the nurse's station say they heard fragments, nothing sharp enough to quote, but enough to sense a couple in the middle of that very human thing, drawing lines and defending them. The phrase that stuck, the one friend say Elçin repeated later, was simple and resolute: "No one gets to step over my boundaries." It wasn't performance, it was a promise, spoken in the confidential hush of a hospital room. Across social media, the reaction is split, just as you'd expect for two stars whose audience loves them both with equal intensity. Some call it an overreaction, insisting the visit was harmless, a kindness twisted by exhaustion into something it wasn't. Others defend Elçin as a partner standing guard around a vulnerable moment, a woman who understands the cost of glare and gossip and has no interest in letting it seep through the seams of her home life. And then there are those who step back and say both things can be true, a well-meaning gesture, delivered at the worst possible time. Industry commentary won't let go of the intimate scenes. People have been rewinding and dissecting, pulling up close-ups to examine glances no one noticed on first viewing. The debate is now a chorus. Was that electricity part of the script, or did the lens catch something raw and unrepeatable? It's art's oldest question, repeating itself in the least artistic place, under the neon of a hospital sign. As the hours pass, new details surface. Friends of the visiting actress say she cried in the hallway, quietly, briefly, and asked her manager to bring the car immediately, not wanting to complicate the situation or add to the discomfort inside. They insist she has never crossed a boundary, that she has been unfailingly professional, and that the timing of her visit was meant to respect the production's schedule, arriving between scenes and intending to stay for no more than a minute. Her team, for now, isn't issuing statements. They're waiting out the fire. From the other side, people close to the couple say the reaction can't be chalked up to jealousy alone. It came from the fatigue that hovers over a home when someone is unwell, from nights of broken sleep and days of juggling work calls with thermometers and tea. That kind of worry sharpens everything. It turns whispers into alarms and familiar faces into potential complications. In that context, even a bouquet feels heavy. Here's what we can say with confidence: Barış is choosing quiet. He's attempting to pull the conversation back into private spaces, lowering the volume where he can and letting silence say what interviews would only inflame. His guiding line, shared with a confidant, is said to be respectful and careful: "Please don't misunderstand me. I know your intentions were good." But intention and impact are not always twins, and the unanswered message hangs between the parties like a curtain that refuses to drop. The fandom, for its part, is doing what fandoms do, forming camps, crafting theories, and flirting with certainty no one truly possesses. One side holds up a defense of kindness: she was only trying to do the decent thing. The other side raises a different banner: a partner's instincts exist for a reason, and locking a door is sometimes an act of love. The comments stretch on for pages, repeatedly circling that familiar refrain about on-screen chemistry turning too real. Even those who don't want to believe it can't resist the question. There's a broader thread woven through all of this, one that reminds us how work and home collide for people who live inside the frame. Intimate scenes are choreographed, true, but the human heart often refuses choreography. Viewers crave authenticity, success demands it. Yet authenticity, when achieved, can end up haunting the spaces that were never meant to be public. As of this morning, everyone is watching for the next move. Will the colleague respond to the late-night message? Will a carefully worded statement appear, designed to cool everything down without spilling a single new detail? Will the production step in and ask the conversation to center on the work again? These are the questions echoing behind every headline, multiplying with each refresh. What is certain is that this won't vanish quickly. The image of a bouquet returned at a hospital door isn't the sort of thing that evaporates by noon. It lingers, tied to the beeping of monitors, the hush of sliding doors, the quiet resolve in a partner's voice. It lingers in the long look between two professionals who still have scenes to shoot, and in the promise from a couple to navigate the pressure together. We'll keep following, not to stir the pot but to trace how two beloved stars handle a moment that could have broken them but might, in the end, show the strength that made audiences fall for them in the first place. Whether this episode becomes a private lesson or a public schism will depend on how carefully everyone chooses their next lines. For now, we have what we have. A visit that went wrong, a boundary drawn with unmistakable clarity, and a silence that speaks volumes. Thank you for watching Turkish series Stars. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe to Turkish series Stars and share this video so more fans can join the conversation. Until next time, take care and stay tuned for what happens next.